Hello and welcome again. My name is Dr. George Mochocki, and today we're going to be covering Chapter 5, Managing a Business. You're taking me in a series of understanding fundamentals of business organizations from a small to large company. They all have the same attributes or similar attributes, similar functionality. So you're taking me an online class or a face-to-face class, and this is a quick overview. What remember to really get out of this class, you've already been you read the material from the publisher. You utilized interactive software. We've done the lessons discussion in the classroom, either in the classroom or in a forum online. So this is just a quick overview. I'm not going to go through every uh, in detail. I'm just going to read it. So when you're studying for the exam and preparing for the feasibility or business plan that you're doing for this course, you at least have a good solid understanding. Okay, so let's talk about management. Remember, like we discussed in the classroom, you have a good idea. That idea is only going to take you so far. Who is going to make that idea happen? As an entrepreneur, it's you. You're the one. In the corporate setting, it's the leadership, the management, the person who's going to champion this, who's going to come up. We're going to talk about managing change a little bit. The chapter talked about communicating to the culture, and they're talking about the business culture, since most companies are very diversified. Let's see, different forms of planning formula. I'm going from this side off. I'm just trying to throw everything off from the back of the book to the beginning. We're going to talk about different types of strategies, different between goals and objectives. We're going to talk about setting goals, strategic management, certain skills that manager you're going to need, basic managerial skills, managerial roles, areas of management that you may be interested in, just to consider, and three levels of management. And now we're at the beginning, went from the back to the end, just to throw it off a little. Management. Remember, you've got the best idea, but who's going to make it happen? So, what is management? Real quickly, and you already have my concept maps, so please, or mind maps, please utilize them. Add in more. Remember, the more senses you use, the better it is. Management, basic definition, is getting things done, utilizing organizational resources, and that's employees and equipment. All that costs me dollars. How do I motivate them? That's management, depending on my the goals I set and the rewards that attach to those goals or performance, the direction I'm leading the company or my team, and empowerment. How much uh, uh, how much accountability and responsibility do I give to my workforce and give them the tools and the boundaries so they could basically don't have to come to me every time for to make a decision. Part of the motivation is that they have certain limits, but they also have a lot of flexibilities in how to respond and do their individual tasks. Okay, so now, that's getting done. And now today's managers, for lack of a better word, a younger, more progressive, growing numbers of women. I teach a leadership course uh, at a community college, and more women are coming into it. You have to have the skill sets. I mean, and with research basically to find just in a general, there's no difference in effectiveness and efficiency of a woman leader versus a male leader. It's just different ways of approaching it. If you could take both of those attributes together, you become a very exceptional and powerful and motivated type of a leader. Okay, so fewer from elite universities. You found out, just because you're in a higher elite university, you're a manager, you're a leader. You need the same skill sets. It's your personality, it's your exposure, it's your experience, and the knowledge you also need. So I'll just leave it at that. We discussed that in depth in the classroom. Okay, emphasis on teams and team building. That's a good, what I mean, that's just the focus. Managers need to be skilled communicators, and good team players. What I tell them to do in the leadership, to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. And you have to, and there's one thing you can learn about management, but you have to understand the people you're managing. You have to understand them more than just as a number or a name. You have to understand them just like you would an individual family member. So if you go into that position and say, why do you want to be in management? What skills do you have? What makes a good manager? And the four functions of management are planning. You have to be able to plan. And I'm going to just open it up. Management determining, vision, goals, objectives, contingencies, contingencies, and we're going to talk later on about the SWOT, strength, weakness, and opportunities. We already discussed that. And the next one is organizing, how to arrange things, not only around the company, but most companies are either arranged around the processes, or a lot of them are focusing more around the customer. You have to understand your customer. You have to meet your customer needs, okay? And how do you organize your company or your department to meet the needs? And the customers could be internal, it could be external for the organizations, okay? Organizational chart just basically tells you different relationships. It's nice to understand when you start off in a company who reports to who. So this way you know the chain of command, and you could see what structure works well for your customer base in your environment and all those other forces and the stakeholders. The next thing is leading. How do I lead and motivate? Power to give orders and demand results. Managers work to guide and motivate, basically to achieve company objectives. And part of leading is training and mentoring and coaching. And now this next part, when I'm looking at controlling, and let's look at the figure that was presented to you in class and everything else. Now, let me just make this a little bit bigger here. Remember, we discussed this, but this figure basically is a good represent. You had to establish the goals. You had to have some kind of measurement output. Does the measurement the measure performance match the standards? Yes. If no, you have to adjust them. Remember, the first time you set up your goals, if you're a small company, set up small. Something you gotta remember. We're gonna talk about SMART goals. That they're specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, and that they're timely. Okay, so SMART goals, and the author did a nice job about talking about that. So I'll just leave it at that. Remember, just as a quick overview, I try to stay within 45 minutes. And most my students like to go through the concept maps, and I give you the second tier. The more sentences you write. Some people like to type in. I do that too, but it says by writing you have a higher probability of retaining that information in your long-term memory when you need it for the exam, when you need it for my feasibility study. Okay, so measure. The first thing is performance standards. Make sure you know what you want to measure. Monitoring, recording the actual, and so there's no manipulation. Comparing the results against the plan, communicating the results to your employees or to the individuals that have control over those goals, and taking corrective action with positive feedback. You have to have the whole process, the communication process, always giving feedback. That's how you improve. That's how your company becomes successful and improve the effectiveness and efficiency of their product or service. The weak link is what I want they want to bring out is, let me see if I could go. I just want to make sure I got this 150. Okay, the weak link is setting the standards, either too weak. Stretch individuals, don't burn them, stretch them high here. Okay, that takes care of our management. Okay, now three levels of management. You have the top management. And here's the chart. Again, you could blow that up and look at it a little bit larger, but it gives into the same information. Top management. You have different titles. Chief Operating Officer, Chief Information. They're basically individuals who are steering the rudder. There's a smaller group up on top. Look at a ship, and they're the ones who are steering the whole organization, the culture. They're the ones who are creating the culture. They're the ones who are making a company, bringing a brand, and bringing their mission statement, their vision for the organization to all the individuals within the organization. And then now the organization, remember when you learned from previous chapter, last chapter, is a corporation. A corporation has a culture. It is an entity. Okay. So we have that. So you have the top management. The next one's the middle management. Remember, just the organizations are more flatter than taller now, smaller, more effective because of technology and responsive time back to the customer. Okay, middle manager, managers, general. division managers, branch plant managers, responsible for tactical and planning and controlling. And then this is what I think is really the hardest one. Or for an entrepreneur, small business, when you don't have too many direct reports, those are people who report to you, and then they have people that they supervise. Assigning daily work, directly responsible for supervising the individual and evaluating daily performance. And now this part here, when you go with the roles and the different skills, I could probably bring it up in here. It may it'll work out, but the first line supervisor, you are a manager, but you also are you have your foot in between two types of different work groups. You have to please your boss, and then you have to please your employees. All right. As an entrepreneur, small business, you have no boss to please. You are the top management and the middle manager and the first line supervisor. You're all in one. So you have no one to bounce ideas off. So I always stress networking, even with other people. They may have different operations. They may have different businesses, maybe not directly your competitors or similar, but managing people, managing individuals, they could tell you, here's how I deal with this person who is the employee from Hades, I mean, from hell, or whatever. You know what I mean? So when I'm looking at getting that information, you have someone to talk to. You can't talk to your employees because other employees are talking to the employees. They're working for you. You may only have one or two employees. So this is something, so a lot of times they'll bring in a consultant. A consultant is basically like that third person. They have someone to bounce off ideas with. Okay, now areas of management, I went a little bit further than I wanted to. You're looking at human resources. They're basically doing the hiring, the firing, wages. You're doing operation managers responsible for production and inventory. You have marketing managers, developing pricing, promotion, informational managers, design and implement the systems, how they work together, organize, distribute. And then you have financial managers. And you go, wow, this is good for a lot of larger companies or medium companies. But for some small entrepreneur, you are all of this. You know what I mean? So you may bring some partners in that have, you could split this, but you should be aware of all of this. Even as a department head, I have to know some HR, I have to know some operations, I have to know how to sell my ideas or product either to different departments or to my individuals, to my, I could either tell them what to do or I could convince them or market it that this is the correct course of action. Okay, we're information managers. We got a lot of information. How much I give back to my employees. Finance, I got to look how much it's going to cost me, my overtime. So all this is things that you could strive, but different aspects that you like or don't like. But as a small company, a small manager, you're all of them. As a department head, you still have to be aware of all of them, but maybe not to the same extent. Okay, different roles of management, basic roles, and again, here's the chart with real nice. You could expand it a little bit more. You have interpersonal roles. You're the figurehead. You're the liaison, the leader, for lack of better word. When you look at here's my vice president, here's my department head, here's my leader, here's my team leader. They're the people looking up to you. Okay. Later on, okay, information role, you disseminate information, and you're the one to help with the decision. You have the entrepreneur. When we talk about entrepreneurship, remember creativity. How do I come up with something different? Okay, now basic managerial skills, you have all of these technical skills. Remember, either I'm a top manager, a middle manager, or supervisory. At all levels, I need all of these skills. But I need more technical skills as a first line supervisor, manager, and marketing and accounting. I have to know how to actually process that work. Human relationship skills that involve communicating and motivating the individual. Conceptual skills. How do I think outside the back? When I'm a first line supervisor, how do I get to that middle managerial position? You have to show me. First line supervisor, his or her work is basically within very technical within the week. I assign jobs, everything else I do from a weekly schedule. So that's all I do, and that's all that's really required for me. I'm looking for people that have these skills as we were talking, looking at and reading. If you exhibit them and say, hey, go to your supervisor and say, I know I do it weekly, but for the next 3 months or 5 months, could I project what I think my team could do? That's looking conceptually and thinking outside. How could we bring in another process and work together? How could I do some cross training? So you kind of expand it a little bit more. The other one that's very important is time management skills. In my courses, if you don't get the homework on time, I take off 25% for the first few days. After that, forget it. You lost it. In management, if didn't get opportunities, I have to turn in my work at the right time. Customers, I have to meet their expectations and the time I committed the organization or my department to. Okay, so leading cause of wasted time. Now, this is what I want you to think about. Paperwork. You can't get away with it, man. There's so much paperwork, telephone calls, meetings, email. I'm looking at my doctor, and I mentioned that in a class. What does he do? When you go in the emergency room, he has to note everything else. He has a person who walks around there and just dictates everything else in there. What he says, he writes it in there. Some of the traits that a good managerial skills that they need, you have to be very supportive type of individual, and you need the education, either education or experience. You know what I mean? So you need both. I don't want to go push one way or the other. You need both of them. Okay, managing skills for the 21st century, you have to have some international, some global management skills. The different cultural differences. Need to understand foreign markets, motivates and practices of foreign rivals. Understand how to collaborate, team building with different people, different likes, different, and it's not only ethnicity or different cultures. A marketing person thinks different than an engineer. An engineer thinks different than a salesperson. So you have different types of individuals, different cultures within the different functionality, which are also different cultures. Could be a whole new language, plus ethnicity and different cultures from people. I teach at Harper College, the community college. If I tell people there, and I also teach at College of Lake County, but Harper College is more diversified. It's just because of the location they're there. I said when people say, "Do you know how to work with a cultural manager?" I went to classes at Harper College. Look at all this. It's so diversified. You name it, we have it. And this is what you're looking for. I've learned that, in a lot of the community colleges, they do a lot of team building, collaborative learning. So that's, we're helping you. Use that as an example when you're talking to other future employers when you're looking for your promotion, or if you're a manager and you want to improve on your skills to move within the organization, try to do some international or global skills. Take some classes. Community college is a good place to go. Okay, strategic management, process of helping the organization maintain effective alignment with its environment. For example, and we talked about this real quickly. If the firm's environment is heading towards fiercer competition, how do I start cutting costs, develop more products or services, or look for a new market that we could sell to? Okay, so that's the strategy. Broad set of plans, implementing decisions. Now, this is the hard ones. You have management by objectives, goals. Goals are something I want to get there. Objectives are little things. How do I get there? Now, when I'm setting the purpose of goal, I'm just going to open this up. I'm not going to go too much into that. We discussed that thoroughly in class in our online. But so those of you who are watching, you could see it. Purpose of goal setting. Let's go. Helps provide directions and guidance for managers at all levels. Remember your strategic goals. Top management sets them, goes on to middle management. They take that part of the goal to meet. They can only do so much towards that goal that they have control over, and that they're being evaluated or performance on and being rewarded for to go up to meet the organizational's goal. So they will take that and decipher this and break it down. So now they can bring it down to short terms or to their teams to make specific targets for them. Okay, so the goals setting also helps to allocate resources. We talked about from economics. Help define the culture. What are you rewarding? If you're rewarding for just sales, I think Wells Fargo Bank was just had many sales. They were making up sales, using sales to make the quota. They might have done it indirectly, but the cause and effect was still negative on the organization. What was the purpose of the goals? Now they're saying, hey, the goal of that was basically to make money. Fine, but at what cost? Okay, house managers assess performance. So when I set the goals and the performance are tied to the goals, if I give them goals that are tied to something that they have no control with, those aren't very smart goals. They can't do anything with it. Improve customer satisfaction and they never deal with customers. It could be if I'm packaging something, make sure that there's no errors, and I could tie that. But if there's no way in heck that I could tie that in there, I'm at the mercy of others. So that I have to find a goal to meet that department's requirements to meet the strategic goal of the organization. Okay, now kind of goals we have the mission statement, basically tells her where the company's going, its philosophy, its survival, what's our social responsibility, how ethical we are. Long-term goals are basically something in the future. When I was going to school, it was 10 years, to 15. Now it's 5 years, you're lucky. They tell me you only do the budget for the next 2 years. The other 3 years, take your best guess, look at inflation, fourth year and fifth year. Hopefully, you always look into historical data and trends and analyzing it and adjusting it going forward. Okay, intermediate goals, 1 to 5 years. Oops, I got periods spelled wrong. We're live in here. Just this is recapping. We've discussed this thoroughly. You read it. You've used the software. I just keep on reminding people who some of you might have just found this on YouTube. Use some good information. If you can't take the sign up for a class I'm teaching, it will help you. If you have questions, we can answer it. I'm always trying to sell that. Try to sign me up for classes. Helps me pay off my student loans. Okay, now types of strategies. You have corporate strategies. If I'm looking at corporate strategies, basically determine what business or businesses a company will own or operate in. So that's the top management's coming on there. Business or competitive strategies. Basically, we're looking at takes place at level for business units, smaller, or a product line to see who my competitors are or how I could remember if I can't raise the cost because of the environmental forces, economic forces says we're gonna, people are very watching their money and it's more of a luxury item or it's more of a higher quality, and people may just take as a basic item. So what could I do? What I'm looking at is how do I cut the expenses? Not firing people or anything else, but could I turn an automation and could I find something else, a different product that's similar or an ingredient that's equivalent to this and it still gives me the same quality, taste, and doesn't jeopardize uh, my product and meets the standards and the goals of my customers. Okay, and then functional strategy managers in specific areas such as marketing, finance, and operation decide how best to achieve corporate goals by performing their function activities effectively. The hierarchy, here's this graph, the graph. Basically, corporate strategy is up in here. It tells it to the business, and it goes down to the individual function. Okay? So we have that. Let's see, formatting the strategy. Yeah, this one's not too bad. The first step on here, let me make this just a little bit bigger. I'll go at 200. Let's bring it down. I know some of you are looking at this using your smartphones. Okay, first step, setting strategic goals. Got to know what the goals are. What do you want to achieve? Second, analyzing the organization. What's my strengths, my weakness, and looking at the environment. That's what strengths and weakness of my organization. What's the opportunities or what threats are out there that I should be preparing for. Okay, and then the matching organizations and its environment. Okay, so and the next one is here's the formulating. So I set the strategic goals. I analyze what the organization is doing. I look at the environment. We don't live in a glass bubble. It has an effect. There's new government rules. There's a new competitor coming in. Is there a new process? Is there recall? It's hurting me. Look what's happening with Samsung with their Samsung 7 with the fires with the phones. They're trying to do it. They had a massive, the way they recalled didn't work right. So maybe we're going to talk about the emergency management to have that in there. But anyway, so they look at the environment, what's going on there. So what happened with Apple? They looked at that. Samsung, oh, it was a push for us. People are buying our product. We open up. It's a perfect timing. Then the other ones aren't working, so they're not going to competitors. They're going to our quality of our product. Samsung was going for quality. Just even though it didn't make the batteries, it hurts the brand image. Will they come around it? May not. Timing's not bad because once I got the Apple or I've got another phone other than Samsung HTC, it's another good Android. What happens there is I got it for 2 years. I won't look to the next year. I've lost those sales. I'm spending money now recouping, reworking, and I'm trying to now my money going forward as a leadership for strategies. How do I bring that confidence Volkswagen had the same issue with the emission things, and Wells Fargo is going to be doing the same thing. So I'm not trying to do back and forth. I'm just going to say the environment, what's happening with the company, what's happening outside makes a thing, and then now I look at the two and I formulate a strategy. Within the next 2 years, 1 year, and this one's got to be done real quickly if I'm looking at protecting the brand. Okay, now forms of planning. You have strategic plan. We already talked about that. We have tactical planning. We have operational planning. You have contingency planning, and right, is preparing for alternative. When I make a plan, when I'm looking at the decision processes that we talked about, I come up with a plan. I come up with one plan. Here's how I want to do it. Always in business have two other contingency. If plan A doesn't work, I don't have to reformulate the team back. I take parts of plan B and say, okay, let's see if we could switch it around. Or I take parts of plan C. Because remember, we're going forward. As going forward, we want everything to work well. But sometimes stuff happens, like it or not. And how do we overcome it? Okay? So that's what you have a contingency plan. And in the worst case scenario, you have to have a crisis management. That's what Samsung, Wells Fargo, Volkswagen, now they all have, all the larger companies have a crisis management team that they bring up not only from top executives to go strategically, but from the department heads and from the unit that is being affected that they have to adjust. How do we adjust this? What could we do? What went wrong? Let me get the facts. Let me understand it. That's the leadership. When do I come up? I got to give Sam some credit. They did come up and say, hey, we had a problem, but the way to implement it, people couldn't get the phone. Because remember, Samsung's not like iPhone or Apple, for lack of a better word, excuse me. Apple basically has its own stores or centers you could go to and you could get another phone. Samsung basically sells their phones to a multiple distribution system of independent distributors. So it's not like they control that chain. Some of them may have extra ones, some of them may be smaller, so they can't really flood the chain. They have to come up with something that they'll be able to exchange those units for as customers need them. Either they do it directly or anything. That's something their crisis management should have looked at. Or say, hey, send the phone back in. I've got an insurance company when my phone broke down, I forgot what it is. And what happens, you just send it to them and they send me a phone back, no problems. Let's say here's the phone. They send me that. I send the old one back without the battery so it doesn't start on fire. So I tell you to take out the battery. I'm guessing most phones I can't, so I don't know. You have to have a aluminum package or something so it protects it from fire. But anyway, send it back to them in 2 days, or send me the new phone, and then I could just put another chip in there. That's how I would have handled it. But that's something with crisis management. Yeah, it's cost effective. Right now, they got people running around. They couldn't do anything else. Okay, management, the corporate structure. The corporate structure, culture. Sorry, excuse me. Remember, cultures of a company, just like cultures of a family or cultures, not all, I'm not stereotyping, I'm generalizing. They have shared experience within the culture. Hey, remember when we hired together? Remember we worked in a department? The more departments you work with, the more of the different cultures you understand, and then you understand the whole culture. And that's how you start grooming yourself for that managerial moving up, because I've been in this department, I'm in that department, and you understand that culture. So now you could bring two departments together because you understand how they operate, not only the culture, but you understand the processes, okay? Stories and beliefs, norms, how to find the work, business climate that exists in the organization, to Wells Fargo, how do you think the employees think about their culture? Wells Fargo was with the stagecoach, they were honest, protecting, and everything else. This kind of hurt their name image or their brand image. Okay, communicating the culture. Managers must have a clear understanding of the culture that to communicate. Why do we do things? Why is this important? Why is social responsibility important? Why is environmental concern important for this company? Or why is it not? And I'm not saying each company has a different mission, different vision, a different culture. Maintaining the culture by rewarding the right behavior for those who understand it and work towards it. That's where we could promote it. You're promoted within the culture that I'm not saying for you to be uh, uh, like wallflowers, whatever you say, boss. To shake your head. No, I'm saying You should see the company and you understand you're doing it for the best of the organization, for the company. And you're going to say, hey, I think we need to change. Here's what's happening. We're falling behind. Not that, that's what you come. You come in there and here's the rationale. Here's the research. Here's what's happening. That's the leadership. You're the one who has to bring in those ideas to your boss, to your leader to move up. And after you come up with that, you have to be able to communicate it back to your workforce. Here's how we have to change. I know it's going to be tight. We may not get that raise, or here's why we need to know the new technology. All that is how do I bring that culture? I teach an organizational culture course. Look me up uh, again. You know what I mean? Oh, hey, I'm marketing. Come on, I'm a leader, right? Okay, managing change. Now, if I'm looking at managing change, it's at the highest level, analyzing the company's environment and it highlights the extensive change. If I'm looking at highlights the change as the most effective response to its problems, is characterized by conflict and resistance. I'm not talking, do I restructure? Do I do some, just a department? Do I eliminate a department? Do I outsource? Do I insource? Do I do a massive reorganization? All those things are a minor tune-up or adjustment within the process. All those are things comes from the top down, from the highest level. Then I go, it could be from the board of directors. It could be from the from the president or the vice president of the company. Then you have top management begins to formulate the vision. Now you have all the top executives from all these different departments and functions. Or it could just be you. You could have a small company of 500. There's only 5 people, 10 people on your staff. It's manageable. You know what I mean? You got direct reports. You could be the one doing all this. So you have to manage this. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be larger. It could be just you and somebody else coming in there. Okay? And how does the vision? What's the new location? What's the vision? Or do we go back to our roots or our vision? We try to expand too much, and then we lose why people like it. Like Sears. If you look at Sears, Sears is going out there. Sears, I remember Sears, Kenmore, and Craftsman's Tool. I could buy Craftsman's Tool now, the True Value and hardware store, different hardware store, because that's what people want. It's a solid. I could replace them. I could do no different than Snap-on Tools, another good tool company. I'm trying to push one way or the other. I'm using this as an educational. They get the high quality, but they could do other stuff, technological stuff. But then people basically just they're not selling it because the competition is too fierce. They can't keep the cost under control. Then they go back to their roots. Okay. So what's the new vision? Or create a brand new vision for the company. Firm sets up new systems for appraising competency employees to enforce the firm's vision. The purpose is to give the new culture solid shape. And there's a whole thing about freezing, unfreezing. If you take me for organizational behavior, we go in or management classes, we go into how do I change a culture, and they use there's a model that's out there. It's you freeze it, unfreeze it, and refreeze it. Just like you would an ice cube. You've got one culture, it's frozen this way. You unfreeze it, put new ingredients or shape how you want your organization. Then you freeze it, and then by freezing it, you basically give the award system and everything else and the tools for this is a new culture. You're not being rewarded by acting the old way. You're only being rewarded by acting the new way. Or you change or go back to another organization or you leave the organization. Okay, now here's the last one. 6 challenges to being a star manager. Managing for competitive advantage. Always look what's the edge. Staying ahead of your rival. First law of business. Take care of the customer. If you take care of that customer, your profits go up, your stocks go up, people want to invest in your organization, goodwill goes up, everything happens. Your whole thing is their customer. Some people hate their customers. Some companies hate their. What the heck? You hate your customers? Rip them off. Hell, they're going to find their competition. If it's for a customer, I want to be in business. Okay, managing for diversity. Again, your diversity, your customer base is diversified. Managing for diversity. Don't look at the future. Your future company can't look like it was be in the present. What's your customer base? How diverse are they? This should be a representation of those customers of in your workforce to your customer base you're saving at all levels of management, not just at the bottom Walmart, very diversified at the bottom. Higher up, they're getting there. They're doing better. I'm not trying to say anything else, but they had to change those numbers or had diversify. Why? Because you got different ways of thinking, different people coming in, different ideas, different cultures. Oh, I didn't look at it this way. They look at it this way. Some are very analytical. Some are more relationship building. Some are more visual type. Just like individuals, they come from different companies. So the more you diversify different companies, different cultures, the stronger you become. And same thing when you're looking as a manager. Try to do different departments. Don't always stick in engineering. Well, that's close enough. A little construction, I could do that. I could do in sales engineer. I could do as you become a diversified, you become an asset not only for your organization, but if you want to go change another organization down the road. Okay, managing for globalization. Again, the future is there, expanding manager in the universe, managing for information technology. Those of you who have my classmates, even the textbooks, you got a software, you got Blackboard, you as a course management system. You have different assessments I make you take online, different sites you look. You have ebook, you have the smartphone, the not so smartphone. You have the technology. I'm recording online, talking online. You're taking me online. You're taking me in a face-to-face class. You have computers in the classroom. Just a classroom in management, you have to have that competitive technological edge. You have to understand how you could bring different technologies together, not to reduce always the workforce, but to make that workforce stronger, more effective, more efficient, more responsive, with information that you could harness and utilize. There's a lot of information. How do you bring the right information in? And then managing information, managing ethical standards. Remember, if you do something wrong, you get caught. Wells Fargo, and that wasn't because of the employee. It was because the goals were set up. The only way you could achieve those goals if you manipulated the system, and they found a way. And top management, other management just looked the other way. They knew there's no way they had it. There had to be some auditing. People complain, hey, I didn't start this account. How many complaints do you get from people? I don't know where this account came from. How did that happen? Especially when you're billing them for it. Come on, managing your own happiness and life. Be in a job in a position that you enjoy. You open up a company, this is your baby, this is your whole livelihood. You go into a middle company or a small company that grows with that company. If you enjoy the company, this is your livelihood. You enjoy it, you're ethical, you could tell, I work for this organization. You had and it meets your goals and also the goals of the organization. That's the mesh you're trying to find in HR. Okay? So remember, as a leader, it's not an easy job. I never said it was, and those of you who manage, but it's an enjoyable and it's a challenging job. That's all. When I'm looking, so, I made a mistake. Level one. Okay, so now let me just bring it back so we could see this, and I'm going to bring it back at 150. So we talked a lot about management. Look, if you want to move within an organization, I'm going to go right now. I'm going to go from top down. To a corporate organization, you have to have some managerial, some supervisory job moving up. Accept that. As a small business, you had to be successful. Good idea. You could do everything by yourself. You can start small. Your whole operation of small business is to grow your business. You grow your business, you have more security, more customers, you get a bigger paycheck. That's a return on your profitability of your investments. But you have to, how do you do that? You have to manage your business. That's leadership. Part of managing your business, you have to manage your customers, understanding them. You have to manage your employees, understanding them. You have to manage your stakeholders, your stockholders, your investors, your suppliers, your regulatories, your everything you have to manage. That's part of man. That's enjoyable. You had that. Is it stressful? Heck, hell yeah, it's stressful. Enjoyable? Yes. I got gray hair. I keep my hair short so it doesn't look so gray. Okay, so you have to know that. Different levels of management. You have to know the technology. You have to know the HR at different levels. The book explained that well. You have to know different roles you play. You play different roles. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. I'm a teacher. Whatever role. I mean, you may be a minister. Whatever role you play. You have different roles you play. In management, I'm a marketer. I'm a manager. I'm a leader. You have to be able to take those roles and attributes for people to follow and take you seriously. Okay, it's different skill sets you have to have. How to be a good supporter. So you need all that. Managing for 21st century. There's more women coming in. There's more minorities. Look, when I look at that, people from overseas, everything else, that's the global. Look, you don't have to ever leave the United States to have a global experience. cultures. You have to understand different cultures. Just like when they come here, in the culture here, you have to teach them to how to assimilate within the organization to know that culture, what's acceptable. When they go home, they act their way. When the culture, here's what's acceptable for this organization. Okay, and how do I plan? A different strategy. How to make goals and time management is very important. All right. So again, geez, I hope I'm underneath an hour. My name is Dr. George Mochocki. This is Lesson 5, Chapter 5, Managing a Business. And that is could be from the department head, from a small business to medium to large. You're always managing your business. If you're looking at a department or you've got a team, you're basically managing that team. Look at that as your own business. A department, after a while, or your store manager, it's your business. Even though you have to report to district manager and work up with the organization, but it's your business. Your employees to look up to you. You are the communicator not only to your employees but going up to the chain. You're the champion of cause. Okay. So again, look me up at if you can't take my classes, go to a community college. You get your best money for what you learn. You have down to earth instructors. So I'm always stressing that. Again, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, and I'll see you either in the classroom or in the forum online. Bye. Oh, 40 minutes, I'm doing better. And remember, you could slow me down or just, with the concept maps, you have the second tier, stop it. I always open up every single one. We've went through this class, for those of you who are watching this, just to understand. It's just a quick summarization. You get the full impact if you take the class at your local community college.